Thank you. What an insightful discussion so far. It's been a half day of, some wonderful insights on various facets of what's happening in the education, system. And we have, like, I can see 30 minutes, less than that. And this is the session just before lunch, so of course we'll keep it to the time. So the topic is interesting, something we are all talking about. It's become a buzzword, AI. AI has touched, of course, our facets of our lives, and of course, education, students, teachers. I think everybody is uh, coming to terms with what AI is doing. So let's delve into this conversation where we want to see that how it is changing the uh, dynamics of education, how teachers are coming to terms with the use of AI, how students are using AI. So let me start with the lady on the panel, Rupa, Ms. Rupa ji. My first question to you, all this buzz around AI, you see everybody is talking about it. How do we balance what it can offer with the traditional way of teaching? How do we balance it? Is there a fear that it can hijack the way the traditional teaching happened?
So good afternoon, everybody. We are between your lunch and this
Dangerous,
panel.
yeah, dangerous time.
So having said this, because I can see the time ticking away, I want to say that everything has its own place. When we say that traditional and when we say modern, I think the best, like Bertrand Russell said, the best is the middle path. Where we have a problem is the children are way ahead of us. And that is where we are facing problems in schools. Because AI is such a tool, what with imagery, with text, with various other things, that we are not able to use it to the best of the children's advantage. Where we should be transformational leaders, we are unable to do that because the children know more than us. And I think William Wordsworth rightly said, the child is the father of man. And this is the time when it's happening.
Wonderfully said. I think, let me come to you, Mr. Sahoo. Students are more prepared this time. They just have to type in 2 lines and they get the entire picture. How does this challenge the traditional way of teaching? I mean, how are you seeing teachers grappling with this kind of a situation? What should teachers do here, to kind of match the intelligence which students are bringing using AI?
Namaskar. Good afternoon, everyone. It's quite interesting to see. I'm from Bhubaneswar, again a place where we are emerging with many big tech companies coming to our city. And now the pedagogy now becoming andragogy. It's more adult driven. So I've seen the education in Cambridge and in London. What I found in Bhubaneswar in London, students are absolutely self. Students are beyond. I think as Indian, I'm seeing we are better than UK. Now the question is, what ma'am said. I'm just going from there. There is nothing called traditional or modern. It's about how we are creating that mindset. We've been talking about mindset. This traditional is happening traditional, but a kind of training. Now, let me give you an example. Like in my school, I'm keeping 30 days, like 15 days term 1 and 15 days term 2, where my students from class 9, 10, 11, 12, they're going to take companies for the internship. So please remember, teachers has its own limitation. There's a generation gap for sure, what ma'am said. But what we can do, we can create the opportunities where students will get trained. So there is no gap, there are gaps. So how we are bridging that gap in teacher training, how we are bridging gap in students empowerment, that will decide the future generation, is future education. So one other point to your question, sir. When you see the teachers, remember, the teachers has now becoming facilitators. The teacher's role earlier was, as a taskmaster. Now they are guides. So teachers and students are now participating in the same, journey. So teachers are also learning with students. Sometimes when you see the AI and the IT and the artificial intelligence, what is happening now? Teachers are seeking more help from students. So students are now becoming the mentor for the teachers. That's the situation what we've been creating in the school scenario. So looking at the current scenario, what is very, very important for all of us to make sure that we are not putting things in the context of traditional or the modern. It is more like a participative dialogic learning where students and teachers both are going as a participant and bringing a lot of new discoveries, new learning, and making sure that we all are together to make students' life better, and also at the same time the teachers. Please remember, the teachers, they have a lot of stress. How we can make that place, and students are playing a bigger role in that.
Of course, I think said it right. I think it's become more participatory in the way that, there's more engagement. It's not one way. Of course, the teachers also have the tools available, by the way. They can also type in into and use AI. But before that, let me come to Dr. Pascal and understand how are you reading the interface between AI and what's happening inside education institutions? What is the current state of this dynamic? If you could explain, how do you see that?
Yeah. Bonjour, I am French. I don't have an accent. Everybody else has, so you will get it very quickly.
This is acceptable accent.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the issue is that we are looking from the wrong way. When we say, what is AI? What is ChatGPT? It is technically it is LLM, large language model. Okay. It is something which is very fast, which can get everywhere in few seconds, get all this info. It's a super Google, which will give you a shortening. Now, it is a tool. This is a capacity. I am from the cognitive psychology, and which I've taken a lot from the neurosciences. And in neurosciences, the assumption is that the brain is like a computer, because we have memory, we have all that, The assumption is wrong, because the brain is not like a computer. The computer is like a brain. And it's normal, because it has been created by brains, But there is something very interesting when we compare these two things. That means that the computer is a superpower, and ChatGPT even more, faster, of things that we can do as human beings. Okay? So we have to start from there. Now it is an increase of possibilities. So among the history of humanity, we have created tools which are helping us to do the thing that we can do, but increase the power of that. Let's say something very simple. I can pull 40 kilo. When it comes to 100 kilo, I cannot. So either we put several people, or I create a machine like, let's say, a crane, and my crane can pull 100, 500 kilo, okay? Computer is the same thing. Now, the question is that once we create a crane, does it take our job from people? Or does it help people to create new wealth, new activity? These are not taking the job, these are not taking what we... So, in our profession, in education, this is, the computer, and ChatGPT is just the extension of it. It's like the crane. Right. It's a tool for us.
Yes.
So, obviously, in that there are two news. A good news and a bad news. The bad news, I will start with that, is that it's extremely powerful tool. And there are always dangers in that. There can be great danger. Like a crane, it is dangerous. But in the danger, there are also security which can be there. Crane, you will not go below the crane and wait for the thing to fall on your head. So in the same way, danger can be circumvented. And we are the archaeology of the computer. We think ChatGPT is extraordinary. In the last 10 years of the history of humanity, we have made more progress in terms of knowledge, understanding, learning, than in the last 200,000 years in 10 years. Okay? So, but I will come to the good news. The good news is that we have embedded a supercomputer, which is our mind, which is our possibility. You know, the computer, it doesn't have emotion. It can compute, it is missing something which is essential to the... So it can have a sort of creativity, but
right.
it doesn't have imagination.
Right.
So now, just to conclude on your question, what we have to look at is not what the computer can do and what AI can do. We have to look, and we have to use it's a tool. Why to deprive our students? What we have to look is what AI cannot do. And this is the field where us, as educators, we will have to focus upon.
Absolutely. I think we have to see it as an enabler. I think if it's not taking away anything. I don't think, I think it's just an intelligent version of Google, like you get the context in the right way. Let me have your own initial remarks, Mr. Singhal. What has AI done to your school with the coming, how is your faculty, how are the parents, how are they reacting to it, What changes has it brought to your institution so far?
Sure. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, I actually run two brands. One is the preschool by the name Footprints, and the other brand that I run is the Pragyanam. It's a formal school K-12 based out of Gurgaon. It's a recent, just a 2-year-old institution. So, we're using AI on both the side and actually using quite a bit. I think we're quite ahead in our journey in terms of where we are in terms of AI. So, let me start with preschool, where you would typically imagine AI would be not that much useful. So what we're doing is actually, we are analyzing our CCTV feeds to be able to identify how many times cleaning has happened in the room. And what was the duration of the cleaning? Are these cleaning matching the SOPs that we have defined? So instead of a human looking at the hygiene level, we're able to do that with AI, and we've been able to do that with 98% accuracy now. We're also able to identify instances where there is no adult in the room, because that's when the injuries and other things happen. So those are the things that we're trying to do on the preschool side. On the formal school side, the adoption is little more challenging, because every time our experience is that you try to introduce a technology in the teaching fraternity, by default, there is a lot of resistance, naturally, because they've not used technology that much. So we've been trying to do that for about a year and a half now. And I think one thing that we've been successful to some degree is to actually create lesson plans using AI. So for example, so our mission is to actually develop life skills in children. That's what we do at Pragyanam. So one of the challenges is that how do you convert a unit, let's say a Pythagoras theorem or anything, in a way that develops skill and actually becomes fun for children. That's where the ChatGPT kind of thing comes into picture, where a teacher has been trained to actually create a lesson plan which is in the form of a game, and where kids will have a lot of fun, and they'll still learn what they need to learn. They'll still develop a lot of skills in that process. We're also now introducing a tool called ck12.org. It's a Vinod Khosla led venture company. So we're using that, and there what we're trying to do is actually we're trying to give a lot of assignments to our students on that tool, and it generates tons of practice material for students. So if somebody is struggling in, let's say, a basic arithmetic or in algebra, they can actually lot of practice using those tools, and teacher get those data that this is where
I got it. I'm sorry, I want to ask more questions than those 16 minutes that are left. But of course, I think what you mentioned is really an eye-opener, that it's not just about the knowledge part. You can use AI tools for other things as well, which you are rightfully using. So this conversation opens more opportunities. Let me come to you, Ms. Chakravarty. So if AI is available for both teachers and students, are these conversations happening in the corridors of an institution, first of all? Do these conversations really matter inside, or are we debating it outside here, and these are future conversations? First, want to understand this. Second is, if a student can just, get the whole explanation typing in an AI, and a lecture can be prepared by a teacher using an AI, So, how do how do those roles, matter, become more relevant in future? I mean, how can a teacher become more effective without a technology if, the technology can offer what they used to do? That's my question.
Thank you. You asked two questions. I'll begin with something that is said, which is, it is supposed to enable. AI is supposed to enable, not establish. As soon as it establishes, in the sense it becomes predominant, then it is not going to give that effect that's wanted. Because what is it that we want from it? That we give the mundane routine tasks to AI, and this is a dichotomy here, right? That we are becoming less critical, having less critical and creative thinking. No. They are supposed to do the mundane and routine stuff so that we can be more creative in our thoughts. Like, for example, as a teacher, I can tell you, correction work. So when we give them assessment, just give them assessment, and now it is just checked online. Forget about more of the subjective writing. So that, of course, there's still intervention, teacher's intervention. So that's the thing. So there's no discussion. It's all been implemented. We are an 18-year-old school. From day one, everything is on AI. So a lot of data comes. What we are supposed to do as people with gray matter is use that data effectively to enhance the child's learning, to use it for skilling, to use it for learning even vernacular subjects. So that is what we are supposed to do. And we have to use parents. Luckily for us in Gurgaon, because we have fantastic parents, the clientele or the parents are so much more ahead in their learning that you don't have to tell them. So you don't need to waste time discussing things. They are way ahead, many of them who are very highly educated. So I think not only in schools like ours, but even in the rural areas, I have gone inspecting in a rural area. I was astounded with the kind of facilities that man who's a farmer and has opened a school near Hisar, what he is doing. So let's forget that there is discussion, because the discussion is over, it's time for action now. So, and the second part of it is that we are using a lot of it to do work, AI I meant to say. Like, I'll tell you about a child, grade 4. She was in fact interviewed by Mahadevan, and she was some Singhal, I remember, and she used DALI to make this software
Right.
from text to image, right? So look at where the children are. There's a child in grade 9 whose app has been taken by NASA because he mapped the shortest route from the moon to Mars. And I could go on and on.
Right.
So,
Right, absolutely. Mrs. Sahoo, do you, is there this conversation with your teachers that, look, this note is prepared by AI, what is your contribution? Do these conversations happen?
Just to give you the clarity, there is no such framework. I've done a lot of research. Again, alumni of Cambridge, I've done a lot of research on AI. The point is that no such framework has been created. So there's ethical issues, there are issues in terms of how to bring the AI. Now there are three things I need to bring over here. One is the content, which teachers they're taking and students they're learning. The second is skilling, what ma'am just talked about. And third, which is very, very important, assessment. So the two areas where the content, there's a school in Austin, they've been doing 2 hours of content through AI. There are no teachers. The teachers are being mentors, and they've been doing AI in the classroom. And what's happening, assessment you can do through AI. But when it comes to skilling, the teachers, they have a bigger role to play. Without, teachers' participation, you will not bring that content to the understanding of the concepts. So, if you say it's happening in corridor, it's happening in the staff room, it's happening in the classroom, it is now the integral. Now the way students, they are looking at the content. Now what is happening, let me give an example. What we've been doing in the classroom, we are now, people are talking that we are using GPT for creating lesson plans. But what we're doing, we are giving content to the students beforehand. They are studying, they come back. then the teachers, they have to be ready to see, what kind of questions to come. Now, ma'am was talking about the creativity and critical thinking. You have to go beyond of students, connection with the concept. They'll come up with the practical oriented questions, which teachers to be ready. It's not, and teachers to be trained. So now a training program, what NEP has been talking, we have to go, I think, 5 years ahead to bring those training programs to the teachers. The training program on AI has to be absolutely unique and classic for teachers. How you bring it, that then a framework to be talked about. More deliberation, discussion, dialogue needed for bringing AI to the classroom.
Right. Dr. Pascal, do you think teachers and even students, they need to be trained and given special workshops that what is the best way of using AI inside the institution? Are you doing anything on that front?
Well, I think a lot of things has been said already, and I will try to answer your question with very practical, actionable that we can bring in our school. And of course, it reflects the way we are looking. So I put the framework before. There is what the AI can do and what the AI cannot do. And there is what the AI can do today, but we don't know what AI will do tomorrow. And I can tell you there is a huge revolution coming in face of us. We don't know when it will come. It will take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But then it is not a progression. ChatGPT will be a kid in front of it. The revolution is the quantum computer, which is coming. And then we'll have a quantum leap happening. I don't want to enter into the detail, but when we are in education, we have to look not only at today. These children, they will be in the world after 10 years, 15 years. And they will be in that world. So what we have to do is really not only looking at today's situation and making the best of it, but anticipating this future. So the 3 actionable I want to come to. 3 basic, there are much more. But first is on what AI can do, and the 3rd actionable will be on what AI cannot do, and precisely where we will come. On what AI can do, you have mentioned the LMS, learning management system, using the teacher can use that, the children also can use not LMS but CMS, and you can create a lot of things, okay, on that. Now, when you use that, there's something very important. This is technical, but very, very important that you have to know, and you have to look at the future. And for that, whatever you are creating, whatever you are doing, you have to look at the transferability. That means the format. So what you are using as LMS and CMS, you have to ensure 2 things. One, that they are SCORM compliant, SCORM, SCORM compliant. Otherwise, you will be boxed into something and you will not be able to evolve. And the other one is XAPI compliant. So these are technical terms. You can look at that, and I don't want to enter into the detail what it means, but that's very, very important. Do always use this compliance. Right. The second thing, which is more traditional in terms of pedagogy, that, ChatGPT will be able to collect billions of information, will make a shortening of that. But what ChatGPT doesn't have, it works only on one system of the brain, which is the electric binary system, 0, 1. It doesn't have the chemical synapse system, which is analog. When, in the Indian Sanskrit epistemology, we call that upamana, the analogy. Okay, it doesn't have that. So, and it doesn't have ethics. It doesn't have critical thinking.
That's the dangerous part of it, yes.
It cannot make the difference between a fake news and a real news. Right. So what is very important in education is to focus on the critical thinking. You bring critical thinking to your student. Right. You bring tool of referencing. ChatGPT will never give you a reference. Right. So ethical, etc. This is the second actionable that I will bring. And then the third one, it is about what AI cannot do. And just a few seconds. What AI cannot do, it doesn't have emotion.
Out of context.
It doesn't
yeah, of
have
course, yeah.
imagination. It can create to a certain extent, but it doesn't have imagination. It doesn't have passion, which is what's the most important thing in education. So what we have to do, besides use AI wherever it is powerful, it can help, use it and abuse it. But there's something it cannot do, is to go to the deeper consciousness.
Right.
Consciousness don't have consciousness. So use consciousness. And it is where mindfulness, meditation, going into the subconscious and opening door and understanding. You know, we just tell you, you know Ramanujan, one of the greatest mathematicians that this planet has seen. And if you have seen the film on his life, it is called The Man Who Knew Infinity. If you have not seen, please go to that.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt here for obvious reasons because I have one more.
I know.
Right.
But just I finish. From where this guy was getting his mathematical formula, he was getting in his dream.
Absolutely.
So this is unconscious, this is a power, and ChatGPT cannot go there.
I think one of the headline stuff that you spoke is that computers like mind. It's not the other way around. I think that really stayed with me. Quickly to you, before I go for the last question, Mr. Singhal, is are you training your staff in AI? Has that stage started already?
Yeah, so we're training our teachers to create an effective lesson plan using AI. We're also training them on using certain tools through which they can actually create assignments for children so that they can know which children is weak at what particular subject. That's what we're doing.
All right. Okay, my final question. We are on time. Ms. Chakravarty, starting with you. You know, AI, all of those tools are fine, but is there a fear of too much dependability on these aids, tech aids, which can even lead to, for example, potentially losing the ability that we have as teachers, as students? Is there a fear that we'll increasingly depend on this tool, which is giving you everything in just a fraction of seconds?
I think every parent, every teacher, if you ask, they'll say, yes, there's a fear. For the simple reason, the reality is when the child stays up till 2 o'clock in the morning, there is a lot of fear. What's going to happen? Today you can stop them, but the kind of addiction that's coming in a 1-year-old, forget our students. I have seen this when I was traveling by train. 1-year-old, the mother took away the phone and the kind of tantrum she threw, she doesn't know any better. But what kind of tantrum? So this addiction, which is coming from God alone knows where, is something which is palpable, alive there. One major thing which we may do, the harm we may do, the fear is there and the harm, is if we kill curiosity. That is a fear.
Because you can just type in your answers and you're ready in 5 minutes. So
yes,
that's the learning will get affected.
The curiosity, that's what drives us. That's what makes us passionate, like he said. That's what makes us going and, keep learning.
Right. Mrs. Sahoo, on that note, should there be a way we use AI? Because, a student can just type in the answer last 5 minutes and come prepared the next day, The learning is all over, So how do you deal, what's the best way to deal with this kind of a situation?
I think the answer would be to balance between what you teach, how they're going to understand. So the teaching and understanding will go simultaneously. So ma'am talked about fear. I'm talking about how to make this AI as part of the life. Take that as a tool to develop thinking, creativity, critical thinking. That's possible. The only thing is how we can train our teachers, at the same time how we can train our students, and how we can train our parents. All three of them will be together, start evolving towards bringing AI to the classroom, AI to the home, AI to everywhere, then AI becoming part of it. Or else, it will evolve. We cannot stop it. It will come to life. So how we are taking it, that mindset, the outlook to develop, and we have to connect with AI to bring teachers like more easier, students like more easier. What you asked, that 5 minutes thing they've been doing it, we have to develop that balance, to have that pain. Students, they have to write it. We cannot stop it. But how to develop that balance and bring, again, the framework of compassion, conviction, and also going within and finding how AI can be a tool to their life and bringing consciousness and also working with subconsciousness together. That will create a new world.
Wonderful. Dr. Pascal, if I take this liberty and, yeah, I'm just coming with a question and then you can add to it. Can we call AI, what it feeds to us, a fast food for the mind? Because, it's just, it just gives you in a jiffy so many calories, but it really harms you at the end of the day, right?
Instant gratification.
I think, again, we are looking at this from the wrong side. AI doesn't give us anything. It's a tool. So, like any tool, a knife is a tool.
I think we are praising it too much, is it?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a tool. A knife is a tool. You can make your kitchen, you can make your food with that. It can be very useful, or it can be harmful. It depends on how you use that. AI has no consciousness, nothing. So to come back to that, it's what I've said before. Keep AI at its place as a tool. Use it. Learn how to use it with the danger which are there. A knife also, you will have to take the precaution and all that. Use it properly. But ultimately, there is no good thing and bad thing. It's only good intention and bad intention, only good behavior and bad behavior. But it depends what you do, So remember that not even the brain is just an organ. It's a mind, it's a manner, it's something which is much. We are in education is what we have to target. Go to that, the consciousness level. It doesn't have it. And then all the problem will be resolved.
I like Dr. Pascal, you have been putting it at the right place, I think it's a new shiny toy for us. Mr. Singhal, do you think we are also overestimating, like when the Googles and Facebooks came, and that time also we had conversations, what would happen to jobs, and the jobs never went away actually, I think, are we also overestimating what it can do? And second is, do we need to really fear that it can actually make us weaker? Because we are thinking will go away, Do you think?
So I'll answer the second question first. I think, when the information became far more available because of Google, etc., it only made knowing information redundant. It became more about skill. And I think the similar thing is going to happen with ChatGPT. It is making information even more available to you. So I think the curiosity, etc., will only increase. Personally, I use a lot of GPT, and I think the ability to get answers quickly is only helping me to raise more questions. So I think my take is curiosity is only increasing with the advent of AI. The first thing, jobs. I think jobs will change. I don't think it will not have any impact on jobs eventually. The kind of jobs that were there in 80s are not the kind of jobs we have today. And I think going forward also the kind of jobs will change. You will see a lot of small companies, 2-3 people companies becoming very large companies because of AI. So it will actually democratize the word even more. 30 years back, even only a rich person could probably start a company. Today, anybody can start a company and sort of do a pretty good job. I think with AI, I think it'll further democratize. Anybody would be able to start, but the jobs will certainly have an impact, in my opinion.
Wonderful. This shows time's up already, and we're dangerously close to the lunch break now. I think I should conclude it here, but really thank you. But what comes out of this wonderful, fantastic short panel is that, of course, we need to put it at the right place, use it in the right way. I think it cannot really overtake the human mind. I think this is a challenge, but I think eventually the human mind will prevail. That's Dr. Pascal highly kind of agrees with this. I think that's what it is going to be, right? But thank you. I would have loved to take a question, but I'm sorry, out of time. But thank you for this discussion. Thanks for doing.
Hello. Thank you so much, Ruhail, for moderating that. A big thank you to all our panelists as well. From food for thought, it's now time for food for lunch, for your food for your stomachs. It's 1:50. By 2:30, we meet again for our next panel discussion. Lunch is served in this very hall. Please enjoy yourselves. Thank you.